some lovely pictures, which we won't show you because they're from his personal archive. But there's some great shots. But there's one of Paul and Ringo and John Lennon.
No, it's not Ringo.
It's
of the early days when they used to come round and rehearse.
So early days. I mean, they're clearly just teenagers.
Yeah.
It looks so...
He was telling me this wonderful story that they used to... Because their mum died early. And so they were allowed to do things in the house that a mum would never allow. So they used to draw on the walls. And they both fancied themselves as artists, but Mike McCartney in particular. And they used to draw on the walls of the loo. But frankly, apparently, these two young lads would sit on the loo and sketch, basically. And then when they eventually sold the house to the National Trust, or the next owner, who then sold it on to the National Trust, they thought that the people came in and said, we can't have all these awful sketches. You know, they weren't rude sketches all over the wall, so they just painted them with whitewash. They whitewashed all of this artwork out. And apparently then when the National Trust bought it, they thought, we can see that there's drawings under here, and they've been working at getting the whitewash off the bathroom walls so that you can see the original sketches. Isn't that weird?
Oh, they're funny things he just did as kids, and now it's a national treasure.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it?
And he said when they moved out of the house, they had to move in the middle of the night because all the fans, it was impossible with fans by then, and they didn't want all the fans to see all their furniture moving out. So they actually got the removal men to come out about 1 or 2 in the morning and do it.
Funny. I mean, that's proper legendary stuff, isn't it? Well, fascinating pictures, Mike. No, you didn't send them to me.
Well, we could show them.
I was just looking at them
tomorrow.
Actually, if you allow.
He would allow it. Yeah.
Anyway, let's go through the papers with one of the most famous Liverpudlians,
yes.
Price, and the writer Candice Holdsworth. Good morning to you both. Pete, let's start with the Express, should we? School trips.
Yeah, it's really interesting, this. Theatres plead for return of school trips. Theatre bosses are trying to get the school children back through the doors for fear of sharp decline in visitors. For many youngsters of underprivileged backgrounds, school trips represent the only way to experience live theatre. But school teachers, headmasters and headmistresses say that with tightening budgets, they can't no longer afford it. What I picked this story for was it is really important. One, these are our new audiences for theatre. They're keeping theatre alive. Two, they're getting away from screens and looking at computers and looking at their phone, and they're seeing what interactiveness is in theatres and what it's all about. It is essential they try and find money from this to also keep the theatres alive because of what's happened through the pandemic. There are some incredible shows out there, and they will learn and get guidance, and they'll start dreaming about maybe a different way of life.
If you don't go as a kid, sometimes you just
never
don't
get it.
go.
We say it all. I've done 36 pantos. We always say it. Our children, those audiences are our future audiences. They are essential, and this is essential. It's so important because underprivileged kids, and they never go to a theatre. And the excitement stays with you forever.
Well, I'm not a big theatre goer. I'm not, but I every now and then I'll get whisked off to go and see a big show or whatever. And they are amazing. I always come out thinking, I must do this more often.
I can't wait. I go to the theatre every chance I have. I went 3 times this week. So every chance, I went to see Bat Out of Hell. I went to see the play, the musical in London about the 70,000 people that were on the planes turned to Canada with the 9/11.
That one.
Right.
Incredible, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But who have you played in Panto, then?
Everything. I used to play Dame regularly, but I got nipple rash, so I just went off it.
Yeah.
But I've done everything, the Silly Billies and...
Gander.
Yeah.
It's that particular place where all of the planes had to land. Incredible stories.
Incredible.
What's the Mail got, Candice?
Yes, so on the front page of the Daily Mail, they're talking about a very effective treatment to deal with type 2 diabetes. It's a soup and shake diet, which has apparently caused people, if they do this diet correctly, they lose on average about 2 stone, which is amazing. I mean, I had gestational diabetes in both my pregnancies, so I'm at high risk now for developing diabetes. So to know that there are effective treatments, that's just great news for me.
Soup and shake, though, is not an easy sort of diet to stick to.
It's not. I mean, it's such a challenge with type 2 diabetes. You know, I mean, the endocrinologist that I spoke to when I was dealing with gestational diabetes, she said getting people to stick to these diets is very hard. So the fact that this one has worked and been so effective is just great.
It's
It really is.
calories though, and that is. I mean, I guess if you want to beat your diabetes, type 2. You will stick to it, but it's still hard to stick to. What is gestational diabetes?
So gestational diabetes, it's to do with your hormones in pregnancy. You develop a resistance to insulin. So you end up with very high blood sugars. And a lot of it goes to the baby, so they really try to manage it because you can get very large babies, and that's much harder to
And once
deliver.
you have the baby, you don't have it anymore.
Some do, some don't. So you have a test just after having a baby to see if you've developed diabetes, and you'll have to have one every year after that. So I'm coming up for my second test. I'll have to have a blood test every year now since having children.
Wow. And
Yeah.
would any of your children be more likely to have any form of diabetes?
They do say that. Yeah. Yes.
That's extraordinary.
It is. I'd never heard of it. Until they noticed that my baby was quite large. And they said, "Ooh, he's quite large for dates. We just want to check you for gestational diabetes." And it turns out I did have it. Yeah.
Gosh, you learn something
Yeah.
every day.
I know.
Tell us about Shirley Bassey.
Oh, I just laughed out loud when I saw this story. Dame Shirley Bassey is spectacular. She was at the concert, 60th anniversary of the Bond movie concert at the Royal Albert Hall. She's amazing. I had the most wonderful look. I had the most wonderful experience with her, but I can't tell you my story because it would take too long. But this is great. Dame Shirley, my parents knew her before she was famous. So I was so excited when I went to a friend's party and she was there. I went up to her and I said, "You don't remember me and you don't know me, but my mother looked after your wigs." To which she looked at me and said, "Do you really think that you should mention to an octogenarian about wigs?" She turned disgustingly and walked to the bar. I love that. It was just, a small BS, but it was sent in. But I love that, and I can see her doing that.
Yeah.
I've got a story and a half that you'd just never believe, but she was sensational with me when I met her, and she was wicked. She was having rows. I actually hid in the shower to do an interview.
An interview with her?
Many years ago, I hid in the shower.
In the shower of what?
Of her dressing room. No, her dressing room.
Her dressing room.
Waiting to meet her. And I came out and I went. She went, and I won't even use the language she used.
Well, don't blame
"Who are you?" And I went, "I hate Barbara Streisand." And she started laughing and accepted me. And we just became, it was hysterical.
I remember she once said, she was friends with a friend of mine who's no longer with us, long gone now. But she once meeting up with him, she said, "Darling, I had to take one of those underground taxis." The tube. One of those underground taxis. She's not.
She is amazing, though.
She's an icon.
She is, and the voice is perfect. The last album was spectacular. I don't know, she 80. Yeah.
Now, what's the Times saying, Candice, about we're all problems with the mortgages. We're blaming ministers.
Yes. Well, so the Times has a story basically based on a YouGov poll, which shows that about 60% of voters said yes to the question that the government's economic management of this crisis is leading to higher mortgage rates rather than the global situation, which is what Liz Truss is trying to emphasize. So they're just becoming more skeptical of the government and blaming them rather than interest rates going up all over the world, which is a big problem for the Conservatives. I mean, they're traditionally the party of home ownership, and if they lose the reputation for that, I mean, where do they go from there?
Yeah, it's going to be problematic for all of them,
Yes.
isn't it? But, week is a long time in politics and all that. Candice, Pete, we are out of time.
Am I allowed to say that I can I'm going on a show on Sunday morning? Talking about Love Me Do, being 60 years old. And I was 16 years old outside of the Cavern, and I've got so many stories about that record.
You get to chat with Michael Portillo.
I am, and what a lovely man.
You'll love that.
The train journeys.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, talking of which, you two...